I won't run from the crushing. I'll hold on through the pain. What I lose means nothing next to what I gain. Come tear down every idol so this heart won't stray. Don't let me stray. I just wanna be your sanctuary, a dwelling place for grace and mercy. Keep sifting me till.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Threshing Floor here on lamnetwork.tv, the station where you are going to get truth in every way, shape, or form that you can imagine. We are here to discuss the things of the Lord and to find out what is wheat and what is chaff. And we put it on the threshing floor, we throw it up in the air, and the good stuff is going to come back down, the chaff is going to blow away, and we want to make sure that we're discerning between what is good and of the Lord and what is of the enemy or our own flesh. My name is Darryl Weinberg of Light to the Nations Messianic Ministries, and I am delighted to be your host this morning. Thank you for joining us. There's different kinds of ministries out there, and one kind of ministry is a watchman ministry. And a watchman ministry is that which warns people. So if you go to Ezekiel chapter 3 and you start in verse 16, it says, "The word of the Lord came to me saying, Son of man, I have appointed you a watchman to the house of Israel. Whenever you hear a word from my mouth, warn them from me. When I say to the wicked, you will surely die, and you will not warn him or speak out to warn the wicked from his wicked ways, that he may live. The wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood I will require at your hand. Yet if you have warned the wicked man, and he does not turn from his wickedness or from his wicked way, he shall die in his iniquity, but you have delivered yourself. Again, when a righteous man turns away from his righteousness and commits iniquity, I will place an obstacle before him. He will die. Since you have not warned him, he shall die in his sin, and his righteous deeds which he has done shall not be remembered, but his blood I will require at your hand. However, if you have warned the righteous man that the righteous should not sin, and he does not sin, he shall surely live, because he took warning, and you have delivered yourself." That is a heady responsibility to be a watchman. And I really consider our ministry, Lamb Network, I think, as a whole, has a very watchman anointing. And there are different contributors on this platform to different programs. And people have a different perspective and, I think, calling. We've got some wonderful people who are sharing wonderful things on how to get organized in our lives and various things. But I really feel that my calling is to warn people of what's coming and possibly how to prepare for it. And if you have been following what's going on in the Middle East, you need to be very concerned. Iran just today has said that they need to have a nuclear weapon as a deterrent. And there it is, folks. There it is. So apparently what this was all about, and, we can question because there's a lot of dissenting voices. And I think that one of the big problems that we face today is that there's so many different voices that we really need to be going to God and saying, God, what is the truth? Holy Spirit, you got to tell me what's going on, because there's all these different people saying all kinds of different things. And there was a lot of people who said that, including Tulsi Gabbard, that Iran wasn't close to having a nuclear weapon. I don't agree with that. I believe that one of the reasons why Israel went in was because they were very close. And so in the 12-day war last year, when Israel went in and bombed Iran, they had a couple of very quick decapitation strikes. Israel was able to get rid of a lot of nuclear scientists. They really hindered their abilities to build a nuclear weapon, because anybody who believes that Iran isn't looking for a nuclear weapon so that they can use it really doesn't understand Islamic fundamentalism. And make no mistake about it, while the Iranian people I know many Persian people, wonderful people, many Christians. But the Islamic regime that runs Iran is a death cult. And they have been pursuing nuclear weapons from the get-go. And I think they were close. And so Israel went in. Now, if any of you has ever listened to Hassan Yusuf Mossab, he is the son of one of the founders of Hamas. And he has he lives in Israel, and it's questionable as to where he stands spiritually, but he believes in the God of Israel. Now, whether he worships Yeshua or not, we're not entirely sure. He wasn't very clear on that. But Hassan Mossab Yusuf is a very passionate speaker against the Islamic regimes, Islamic fundamentalism, and a supporter of Israel, because he lives there. But also he understands, and this is what I think a lot of people in the West don't understand, is that Israel is fighting the West's war when it's battling Islamicism. Does Israel do everything right? No, they don't. The Israeli government actually had a hand in forming Hamas. We know that. And the reason is because they wanted a counter to the PLO that Yasser Arafat had founded and was running, and that was supported by communist Russia. So they've made some errors in judgment. Why? Because they're not following God. But then you got a whole bunch of people saying, well, Israel's not really Israel, and that Zionism is all about the Schofield Bible, and please, that doesn't even make any sense whatsoever. The Israel that is over there today is the Israel of God. They are in unbelief, which is exactly how God said that they were going to come back in Ezekiel 36. He says, I will take you from the four corners of the world, and I will bring you back, and then I will sprinkle clean water on you. They were coming back in unbelief. But what was very interesting about Mossab Hassan Yusuf is he was saying very recently that Israel in the 12-day war was doing fine, and then the U.S. got involved and mucked everything up because they wanted to be partakers of the glory. Now, was Benjamin Netanyahu, did he ask the U.S. to help out? Probably. But because, Israel didn't have the bunker bombs that were used to destroy the underground nuclear facilities. But what he said is that the U.S. should have never got involved. And there were prophetic voices, people who gave messages. One of them was Benjamin Fairclough, of down in Atlanta, Georgia. And he passed away this year, right before the United States went to war. And he said last March, God was saying to the U.S., do not get involved in this war. Do not go to war against Iran, because it will lead to your downfall. And the reason is because the U.S. is not walking with God. And so God cannot support a nation that doesn't honor him and walk with him and walk in obedience. I mean, Israel did the same thing all throughout its history. Anytime Israel turned away from God, God not only did not protect them, he sent enemies in against them to judge them. And Pastor Faircloth and then Jamie Walden from Omega Dynamics recently, back I think about 3 months ago, he gave another message and said that judgment is now coming because the U.S. is arrogant. The U.S.'s foreign policy over decades has been all about take. They go start wars and overthrow countries and everything else. God can't bless that. So the warning was, don't get involved in this. Iran's fight is with Israel. But Donald Trump can't help himself. And I don't know who he's got advising him, but he thinks that he can go, number one, bully people. Number two, he can negotiate his way out of things. The problem, though, is that Western people do not understand the Islamic mindset. And they figured that just because the United States has the biggest military in the world, that they would go in, drop a few bombs, and that the United States, or Iran rather, would roll over. They don't understand, number one, the Islamic mindset. They don't understand that for them, survival is victory. And they don't understand that they're willing to suffer and experience a lot more than the West. See, the West is soft. The West doesn't understand war. And the United States really hasn't won a war since World War II. The Korean War was a standoff because North Korea still went communist. Vietnam was a complete debacle, and they lost. And every war since then. Did they win the Iraqi war? Well, I mean, what was that? Saddam Hussein was a CIA asset to begin with. And this whole thing about weapons of mass destruction and all this other foolishness, that was a pretext for going in there. No. So the United States hasn't won a war, really, in 80 years. And they were specifically warned not to go into this one. And when Israel took out Khamenei back on February 28th and his council, everybody thought, oh, they're done now. And then they went after all kinds of other leaders. And his son now, Khamenei Jr., he is injured. He hasn't been seen in public. Nobody's quite sure what's happening with him. But you see, the problem is that the Islamic regime is still running. Trump promised back in January that help was on the way and that the people should take the streets. And what ended up happening is that the IRGC went out and massacred tens of thousands of Iranians at the promise of Donald Trump that he was sending help. And recently, although yesterday or the day before, the United States again bombed the Iranians because they shot at a ship, which apparently was part of the deal. Trump was essentially forced into signing a memorandum of understanding, and he has been bending over backwards trying to justify it. He is trying to he's trying to get some sort of victory out of a very clear defeat in which Iran got everything and the United States got nothing. There was no agreement. That Trump said that the red line was that Iran can never have a bomb. Iran can never have a bomb. Iran can never have a bomb. He said that over and over, and that was his justification for going in. Now he's saying that, well, a few missiles, what's the big deal? I mean, he has flip-flopped so many times. It's mind-boggling. You can't believe a word that comes out of this guy's mouth. And now he's calling people stupid who were against the war. Well, at the same time, you've got guys like Lindsey Graham who are practically drooling at the possibility of sending in U.S. soldiers on a ground invasion. I don't know why anybody would ever quote Lindsey Graham on anything he says. He betrayed Trump in 2020 with the whole voting fraud thing. He voted against, inspecting the election. He voted to affirm Biden. And now he and Trump are buddies again. Listen, this is all theater. It's all a charade, and everybody needs to ignore it. Tucker Carlson is saying that he's leaving the Republican Party. Well, they don't have a Republican Party in Qatar, which is where your loyalties lie. So please do us a favor. What's happening now, though? Why did Trump have to sign this MOU? Everybody can see on the surface that this thing is a complete disaster. Iran gave up nothing. All they said is, we're going to negotiate. That's what the Islamic regime does. As a matter of fact, Trump himself even said, did he not say that Iran has never won a war but lost a negotiation? And what the Islamic regime will do is that they will lie to your face, and they will obfuscate, and they will dance around. And then you've got Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff who are leading the negotiations. Like, what do these guys even know? It's madness. Why was Trump shoehorned into signing this deal? Because Iran did what they've been wanting to do for decades and didn't have the justification for doing it. And that was to close the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Trump said that they were being blockaded. Their navy is at the bottom of the ocean. Whatever, blah, 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 blah. Iran watched how the U.S. dealt with other countries, and they decided right from the get-go, as soon as the Ayatollah Khomeini came in 1979, that they were going to start building a military that was going to be able to fight against what the U.S. does, because the U.S. goes in, they they threaten, and then they go in with great military force. They did that in Iraq when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. But if you can build an army that can withstand that, and you're willing to die, and you're willing to sacrifice your own people, this is something that the West is not willing to do. So, Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz. Oil shipments stop. And something like 15 to 20% of all the oil in the world goes through there, because the Middle East is, I think Venezuela is supposed to have the largest reserves, but it's only one country. So you've got Iran, you've got the United Arab Emirates, you've got Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar. You've got all these countries, Bahrain, in the Middle East, who produce oil. And the oil gets loaded onto ships and comes through the strait and gets dispersed through the world. So when Iran shut that down, countries started to suffer. And this ping pong match that keeps going back and forth, Iran now said, and they've openly said, that management of the strait is never going back to the way it was. And Marco Rubio can talk about all he wants about how Iran cannot charge tolls on an international waterway. He said that would open up a Pandora's box. The rest of the world would see that. And all of a sudden, you have countries that are starting to lay claim to international waterways. He's exactly right. The problem is that the United States can't do anything about it. Why? Because there was a cargo ship that was just coming through yesterday or 2 days ago, and it was right near the Oman side. So the Strait of Hormuz is this narrow waterway between Iran and Oman on the other side. Okay. And so let's pull this up here. And it's, I think at its narrowest point is 21 miles across. So that's pretty narrow. Right here. 21 miles across. So oil gets loaded up here. You've got Kuwait, you've got Bahrain, you've got Qatar, United Arab Emirates, and then you've got Oman here. So Oman, which is on this side, and then United Arab Emirates on this side. And by the way, Iran and United Arab Emirates are not friends. United Arab Emirates is a more moderate country. They are friendly with Israel, and they United Arab Emirates is Sunni, whereas Sunni brand of Islam, whereas Iran is Shiite. They don't like each other. If it weren't for Israel, they'd be fighting all the time, and they fight anyway. So this little narrow point here is really the key to everything that's going on. So when ships load up with oil in Kuwait or even Iraq, and they come through here, you've got Saudi Arabia over here. They got to come through here. And so there was a ship that was coming through here on the Oman side, and the Iranians fired a missile at it and disabled it. So what they've essentially said is that we control this, and only ships that get our permission and pay us a heavy toll, and they're talking like $2 million per ship now. Because what Iran wants to do is they want to start raising money through these tolls, and they estimate it could be up to $40 billion a year. You start having $2 million per tanker, and with the number of tankers that goes through there, that's a huge chunk of money. You'll sometimes have hundreds of these things going through a week. So what Iran did is they've choked this off, and they've said, we now control this, and there's not a thing you can do about it. As a matter of fact, the only way that you are going to free up Iranian control of the Strait of Hormuz is that you would have to have a ground invasion and completely overthrow the Iranian regime. Well, you look at the size of Iran, it's a huge country. Largest one in the Middle East, maybe next to Saudi Arabia. They're about the same size, I guess. Iran may be a little bit larger. There's 90 million people in Iran. And the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, is a huge army. And all of them are dedicated to the cause of bringing about the Mahdi, their version of the Messiah, who many will believe will actually be the Antichrist. And they're not afraid to die. They have no compunction about lying, which apparently Trump doesn't either. And they have now basically taken control of this. And what Iran is also threatening is, why do you think they set up shop with the Houthis in Yemen down here? It's because then they can also control the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea. You've got this little narrow strait here, which, by the way, is why Israel made an agreement with Somaliland, which is over here, to be able to counter that. But you've got a very narrow strait here, and what the Iranians were saying is that they're going to activate the Houthis in order to block off the Red Sea. So the Suez Canal, which is up here, is the other point where much of the world's shipping, including oil, goes through. So Iran, through its control of the Strait of Hormuz and its proxy over here in Yemen, are basically saying, if you want oil, you got to go through us. So what happened with Trump? Why did he sign this MOU? It's because oil reserves, and he said this, he said the reason why he signed the MOU is because he said that we were about 3 to 4 weeks away from going dry. Most people have never heard of Cushing, Oklahoma. Oklahoma is next to Texas, and Cushing is, I mean, if you've ever driven through Oklahoma, it's pretty flat. There's not a whole lot to see there. Cushing, Oklahoma, though, is very, very important because it is the place with the largest reserves of oil in the United States. They have 350 tanks, those big, huge tanks. And you can see here, no, I had a picture of it. But I'll give you an aerial view. That's a good picture right there. Okay, so you can see here. This is why you need someone to run your thing for you. Okay, let's have a look here. So you can see Cushing, Oklahoma has these massive tanks, and there's about 350 of them. So this is the largest reserves of oil in the United States, next to the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which I'll get to in a minute. And there are 4 major pipelines that connect in Cushing that send the oil across the United States. And Cushing is basically now, sorry, there we go. You can see here, there's about 350 of these all over the place, and there's 4 major pipelines that connect to it. Yes, I am live. Thank you, boys. So, Cushing is where most of the oil is brought to, and it's then distributed throughout the United States. And so what's happened is you need to maintain critical levels. Oil does not flow through the bottom of it doesn't go through the bottom of the tanks. The reason is because crude oil needs to settle. It needs the sediment. There are impurities in there. So what they do is they put them in the tanks. The sediment flows through the bottom, and then the oil from the top goes through the pipelines to where it needs to go. They're not filling this up. So when the war started back on February 28th, and again, Israel was perfectly justified in getting rid of Khamenei. It was right around Purim, and you can have both, you can spell in Khamenei's name both Amalek and Haman. And Khamenei, the Ayatollah, was a definite type of Haman. And he had been saying for 40 years, Israel's the enemy. We got to destroy Israel. We got to get rid of the Zionists. That was his whole mantra. He had the spirit of Haman in him, and Israel had to take him out. But with the U.S. getting involved and Donald Trump beating his chest like he is, not walking with the Lord, the United States is not walking in obedience. They were warned not to do this. And so what's happened is that you have a principality that rules over Iran called the Prince of Persia. Some of you might be familiar with him. He's mentioned in Daniel chapter 11, Daniel chapter 9. And so that guy's been ruling over there for at least 3,000 years. Okay? He is a powerful entity, and the United States going after him without the Lord's blessing, he is now risen up, and he is going to destroy the United States financially. The oil reserves in Cushing, Oklahoma are at their lowest points in many, many years. But you also have there's something else that Ronald Reagan started, which is called the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And this is an emergency stockpile. So back in the 70s, when you had the first Persian Gulf crisis, the oil shocks, Reagan started to build this underground network in Texas and Louisiana of these oil reserves. And so Cushing, Oklahoma has capacity for about 93 million barrels or so. The SPR is designed to have a 714 million barrel capacity. So it's like 8 times as much. Cushing is designed to have the oil constantly flowing through. The SPR is a reserve. But when the United States went to war against Ukraine through NATO, against Russia with Ukraine, started sending all of its weapons over there and everything else. Biden began to start to draw down on the SPR. And now Trump has been doing the same thing because you got midterms coming up. And with high oil prices, the Republicans are looking to get their butts kicked. The problem is now, the SPR is at its lowest point since it was built in 83. Cushing, Oklahoma is at critical levels because once the reserves drop to a certain point, the whole system no longer becomes functional. And so it would take massive, this is what Trump was threatening over with the blockade, is that if you have the way the oil facilities are designed is that the oil has to constantly flow. If it stops up because there's too much of it, because it's over capacity, things start breaking. But if it drops down too low, they're not going to be they're not going to be able to restart it so easily. Things are going to get damaged. And so the economic consequences are about to hit. Cushing is about to run out of oil. The SPR is going to get drawn down to where there is none left. And the United States and Iran are still going back and forth, where Iran was just bombed yesterday from the United States because they hit a ship. So they're going to close the strait whenever they want. So Israel was not allowed to go in and finish the job. After the 12-day war, Trump said that was enough. Okay, we did what we needed to do. Because for Trump, he's not looking at the long-term overall effects of the Middle East. And people like Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates would love to see the Iranian regime fall because they threaten them too. When the United States went and bombed them yesterday, Iran fired back and hit Kuwait and Oman again. But with the ships not flowing through, you have a catastrophe that is waiting. We have a catastrophe that is coming upon us, and there's no way to stop it. The damage has already been done. And so why did I read to you Ezekiel 36? Or sorry, why did I read to you Ezekiel chapter 3? Because there are oil shocks that are coming. There are shortages that are coming. And the other thing that people also don't understand is that fuel is necessary to deliver food. So not only are people not going to be able to drive, and you now have summer vacation, you have the July 4th celebrations that are coming up next week. Canada Day is on Wednesday. Independence Day for the United States is on next Saturday. And you have summer vacation time. You have people traveling around, and there's not going to be oil. You're looking, as things continue, as it takes approximately 2 months for the oil to get pumped out over in the Middle East, loaded onto tankers, brought over to wherever they're going, unloaded, and then delivered to their destination. So even if everything were to go back to normal, which Iran said it never is going to, you have this massive shortfall that's happening, and people don't understand what's about to hit. And the warning that God gave, do not get involved in this conflict with Iran, because I'm not going to be with you. It was like after Israel went into the land in Numbers 13, and they spied out the land, and they said, okay, Moses and Joshua and Caleb, so let's go in. They said, nope, I'm not going to go. We got giants over there. They're scary. Let's go back to Egypt. And when God says you're not going, the next day they tried to go into the land on their own, and God wasn't with them. Moses didn't go with them. The Ark of the Covenant didn't go with them, and therefore the presence of God didn't go with them. And it says that the Anakim beat them back all the way to where they started from. The United States got involved with a conflict that wasn't supposed to get involved in. God wasn't with them. The United States has not been walking in humility. And now you are going to have an economic tsunami that's going to hit. Now, Canada and the US both have enough oil reserves that none of this should have ever been a problem. But those industries have not been developed. As a matter of fact, the Liberal government under Justin Trudeau and now Mark Carney, both World Economic Forum stooges, actually have shut down a lot of our capacity. Out in Alberta, which is why they're considering even joining the US, is that they're getting sick and tired of being told that they can't do business. So none of this should have been a problem, except that we have people who are manipulating and managing things so that we all suffer. So what do we do? What do we do? Yeah, fuel's dropping temporarily, and that's why Trump signed the MOU. But make no mistake about it, this has produced long-term consequences, and the industry is not going to recover. You might have temporary relief, which brings me to my next point. This gives us time to maybe do a little preparation. I think we all need to be going out and filling up our jerry cans and having oil or gas reserves. We're going to have to start thinking about our travel plans, because there will be gas rationing that's coming. It's inevitable. Right now, you've got the World Cup, the FIFA World Cup of soccer. And if you looked, that was one gigantic occult ritual. Massive occult ritual. So you're bringing in all these spirits. And then on top of that, You've got July 4th celebrations, 250 years. And God is not pleased with the United States. God is not pleased with the United States at all. So what do we do? Well, number one, we have to be praying. We've got to be praying like never before. Over and over, I've been hearing various prophetic voices that are saying, prepare for a summer of chaos. Chaos is coming upon us. You are going to have fuel shortages. You have fertilizer shortages because most fertilizers are petroleum based. And even if things were to, a deal was to be signed that everybody honored, there's been so much damage done to the various facilities that Iran was, hitting natural gas facilities in Qatar and Oman and oil fields and in the United Arab Emirates. I mean, everybody's been hit. The infrastructure for the lifeblood of the world economy, which is oil, has been severely damaged through this war. It's going to take years before that would even be able to be rebuilt. And that's assuming that hostilities stop, which, if you've noticed, they haven't. And what's going to happen in the midterms, where everybody is very, very unhappy with Trump? And so what are your options? You go vote for the Communist Party of the Democrats. And people like AOC, who are, well seasoned and well versed in geopolitical, affairs and understanding of how things work. Yeah, I mean, you got a bunch of buffoons that are in the Democratic Party, and they hate the United States. They hate the West. They have been brainwashed and taught that everything about the West is bad, and they're going to work actively against things. I mean, you look at the absolute catastrophe that was the Biden administration for 4 years. You had every kind of insanity that was brought in there. And if that happens in the midterms, and the House and the Senate go back to the Democrats, man, oh man, there's no way out of this, beloved. There's no way out of what's coming. And so that's where we go to Psalm 91. He that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide in the shadow of the Almighty. Though 1,000 may fall at my side and 10,000 at my right hand, I will not be moved. Judgment is coming to the West. Judgment is coming to North America. You saw just the other day how Mexico is trying to get everybody to get on with a digital ID. Claudia Scheinbein, who works for the cartels, but she's also a globalist. They're pushing this forward so quickly. So what do? We prepare. If you can, if you're able to, start stocking up. Start stocking up on food items and start stocking up on gas. If you've got a shed or a place that you can put gasoline or something like that, that's not going to be in your basement or something like that, then I would encourage you, if at all possible, to do so. And we've got to be praying. We've got to be fasting. And we have to be asking the Holy Spirit, what do you have to tell me today? What do I need to understand? Who do I need to talk to? How do I need to go about this? Because these are perilous times. The people might come and steal it, but if God assigns an angel right at the doorway of your shed or your garage or something like that, then nobody's coming to steal anything. So we need to prepare. We need to develop networks of people that we can trust in, who can help us. We need to be putting away money, if at all possible. And I know it's been tough. I mean, that's the whole point of what they've been doing, is they've been systematically dismantling the economy, just taking it apart and impoverishing everybody. But Psalm 37 and verse 25 tells us that I was young, and now I am old. And yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, or his descendants begging for bread. God is able to sustain us even in times of famine. God is able to provide for us in ways that are supernatural, miraculous. You look back at what he did with Israel during the judgment on Egypt, and the remnant are, in a sense, Israel in Egypt. The West has completely fallen. It's gone. Nobody is seeking after God. There isn't one country in the world that you can say really and truly honors God. And you've got a heat wave that's coming. You look at what's going on in France right now. They've got temperatures of 45 degrees Celsius, 115 degrees Fahrenheit. You got people that are dying over there. This heat dome, and it's all geoengineering, but it's the judgment of God. When societies embrace wickedness and evil, they receive judgment, and that's what's happening. But we're going to be protected. But it's going to require us to humble ourselves and to be diligent in listening to the voice of God. Because there's no way of avoiding what's coming. We don't know when it's coming. We don't know when. Is the United States going to get attacked next week? We don't know. But it's coming. Be rest assured. You look at what's going on in New York right now with Momdani. And what's the big thing going on in New York? Well, first of all, they won the NBA championship. But second of all, the big event that's coming up is Taylor Swift's wedding. Well, she's one of the high priestesses of the music industry. And I believe heavily involved in witchcraft. We can't escape what's coming. The millions of babies that we have slaughtered. Canada is euthanizing people at an unprecedented rate. 16,000 people last year in Canada ended their lives with government-assisted suicide. Once the government gets involved in the elimination of its own people, the government is there to protect its people. The government is there to serve its people. That's why they're called public servants. And yet Canada very recently has passed Bill C-9, which is the hate speech law. It is now illegal to quote some parts of the Bible. You can get charged with a hate crime by saying that certain people are practicing a lifestyle that is abhorrent to God. Hate speech, they'll charge us. You have Bill C-22, which is the digital surveillance law. They're basically telling social media companies that they need to store data for an entire year and make it available to the government. This country is falling fast. 9/11 was a wake-up call to the United States, and it didn't listen. And so 25 years later, what's coming now is going to be a whole lot worse. But we are in a position that, number one, we know the Lord. And we can trust in him. See, not only did God provide for Israel in Egypt, he provided for Elijah under one of the most corrupt and wicked regimes in Israel's history, Ahab and Jezebel. And there was famine for 3 years. There was no rain, drought everywhere. And the ravens came and they fed Elijah. And then he sent him to a Syrophoenician woman. Not an Israelite woman. He sent him to a foreigner that she may provide for him. So God's going to provide supernaturally, but the question is, do we trust him for that? And you're saying that, Bob, that Trump is cutting off ties with the WHO and NATO. Yes, I agree. However, that's all optics. You got to remember, Trump was trained at Fordham University. He's Jesuit trained. And even Maria Abramovich called him MAGA, which is a magician. MAGA is the 5th level of witchcraft. It's the highest level. It's like the whole 6-7 thing. That is a demonic invocation. Every time people call MAGA, it is an invocation for witchcraft. So certain things on the surface may look like they're okay, but it's not going to go well. And judgment is coming. So we prepare, we pray, and we trust the Lord. So, buckle your seatbelts. And let's see what the Lord is going to do, because out of this, for those of us who cling closely to him, I think blessing is coming. So I want to thank everybody for joining me in my ramblings this week. And we will look forward to keeping our eye standing on the wall and watching what the Lord is going to do. Shavua Tov, everybody. Have a great week, and continue to like and share this program as well as all others on lamnetwork.tv. And we will look forward to seeing you next week. Shavua Tov. Have a great week.
I won't run from the crushing. I'll hold on through the pain. What I lose means nothing.
If you missed today's show, or want to watch it again, or want to tell someone where they can watch this episode, go to lamnetwork.tv, where you can find this show and all the other live Lamb Show archives in the on-demand section of the website. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to tell someone about the Messianic Lamb Network.
I just wanna be your sanctuary, a dwelling place for grace and mercy. Keep sifting me till everything is on the threshing floor.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussions, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take a tour of the lamnetwork.tv website. I'm Darryl Weinberg, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.
Sanctuary. let it fall on the threshing floor. Everything that's